Good morning, friends. This is about the historical development of counseling. This can be divided into 6 stages: the mental health movement, and then the mental testing or measurement movement, vocational guidance, social service orientation, educational developments per student personal point of view, and rehabilitation legislature. The first is mental health movement. This has started with the identification of psychic structure into ego and superego by Sigmund Freud, because of which some psychological disorders were identified and psychotherapy was introduced to correct or as a therapy. And then this orientation was applied to courts, schools, etc. to provide relief to a variety of mental and emotional problems. So this is how the role of intervention has started in the treatment of difficulties. And then mental testing or measurement movement. This has started with the Cattell psychomotor test to test the individual differences, and later came intelligence tests of Binet and Simon. And Wells has applied the mental testing in hospital setting. And later for army recruitment during World War, psychometric tests were used to classify the individuals needed for army recruitment. So this has resulted in refinement in human assessment, tests used in counseling to guide individuals more effectively. Third one is vocational guidance. Objective assessment of individual abilities to provide them with adequate knowledge to make meaningful choices is vocational guidance. Educational Career Counseling Center in Detroit was opened by Jesse P. Davis in 1898, and he is the one to first use the term counseling. Counseling as a new psychological specialty was introduced by E. Super. He developed standards for employment of psychological personnel to provide educational and vocational guidance to administration, hospitalized veterans, and selected universities. Then came the social service orientation. There was a doctrine of social Darwinism earlier, which means Darwinism is survival of the fittest. In the same way, selective survival of qualified and deserving was a doctrine of social Darwinism. And then the humanitarian view began. And all the social workers, they started adopting humanitarian approach, and the social and political ideologies also were thinking of developing the human conditions, and they were focused on developing the human conditions. Thus developed a set of attitudes, outlooks, and compassions in human intervention, and this is how advanced counseling has developed. Social activists are as socially change agents, and non-directive counseling also took seat. This has become an equalization of social relationship between the counselee and counselor. Rogers has fused humanism and counseling. So this non-directive counseling is also called as client-centered counseling. Then the educational developments. During the development of higher education, a premise that education institutions should organize and direct both curricular and co-curricular activities came up. And then William Rainey Harpy of University of Chicago, he hired a number of third force professional personnel to counsel, to direct and advise students, faculty as well as administration. In 1937, a committee which was funded by American Council of Education, it has made the work of colleges or universities into 3 categories. The first is instruction, the second is business management, and third is student professional services. Under the student professional services, orientation, counseling, educational vocational guidance, placement, discipline, records, research, health, housing, financial aid, social programs, all these came under student personal services. And extra institutional categories also are there, guidance, personal, etc. are also there. So this is about the educational development. Next, rehabilitation legislature. During 1954, the rehabilitation legislation was done, with this, the support for counseling in the field was made compulsory, and mandatory rehabilitation counseling was done for the disabled. And this legislation also provided for financial support for counseling, and counselors education was also promoted through government funding. This is the sixth and the last development, historical development, which has led its way to the present counseling. And some key points in counseling. This counseling can be said as a field of knowledge which is very diffused. It has two functions, two major functions. One is guiding function, and the second is therapeutic assistance. Thank you, all of you.